And I remember the morning after my mom passed, my grandma asking me like, okay, so where are your brother gonna go? Because like we've already raised our kids. And I'm 12, like,
Oh, wow.
like what do you expect me to say? Like, I don't have
Yeah.
an answer for that.
Welcome to Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards, the podcast dedicated to helping high performers unlock their true potential and cultivate a powerful mindset for success. I'm your host, Julissa Edwards, a mindset coach and advocate for healthy high performance. Join me on this transformative journey as we delve into strategies, insights, and inspiring conversations with experts and thriving high performers. Get ready to master your mindset, elevate your performance, and create a life of purpose and fulfillment. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode, another interview style episode where I have the pleasure of interviewing Knicki Johnson. Knicki is a dedicated travel nurse with 13 years of experience across various specialties, including critical care, cardiac trauma, nursing, and more. Throughout her career, she has witnessed both the highs and lows of the nursing profession, which has fueled her passion for supporting fellow nurses. Through her company, Uniquely Nursing, she's on a mission to help create a vibrant and supportive community for nurses. Her initiatives, like the upcoming Unwind and Unite, a Nurses Brunch, aims to bring nurses together for connection, fun, and rejuvenation. So this episode was really, really nice because right from the get-go, we get a deep dive into her childhood and how her adversities and upbringings really shaped the woman that she is today in the best ways possible. She sheds so much light on what she's been through. And from one of my note takings that I wrote down as she was talking, is that everything kind of goes back to this notion that you can count on me, and that's really her north star and what she's doing for nurses, in her business, being there as an active support system, knowing that they don't have to be alone in their efforts and journeys of going throughout their nursing career. So many insights were shared about personal life, motherhood, business, um, adversities, and we even ended it with a beautiful way of manifesting what we're calling into the future. So, if any of that interests you, this is a beautiful episode to chime into. And yeah, enjoy. Without further ado, here is Knicki Johnson. Right, you guys, I am super pumped about this conversation. Knicki, I just know that you're going to be a plethora of knowledge. I feel your high vibrations, your high energy, and I know that you know so much about the nursing field, all things mental health related, want to make things better. And yeah, I'm just gonna get into it with the first question, if that's okay. Is that okay with you?
That sounds great.
Okay. Alrighty. So, give us a brief overview of your journey as a travel nurse, right? First, with 13 years of experience, plethora of knowledge there. And then your specific mission with your company, Uniquely Nursing, to support and uplift fellow nurses.
So my background is, as you said, I've been a nurse for 13 years. I came right out of school, straight into the ICU, and that's kind of been my home for the last 13
Mm,
years. I've done many other things outside of critical care. I've done a lot of cath labs, so any like emergency strokes, I've been the one to help fix and take out clots and things and get people back to normal. I've
okay.
been a supervisor. I've done a lot of trauma nursing. So in New York City specifically, a lot of like big train crashes and motor vehicle accidents and stuff. I was a nurse to take care of those patients. I've done many things as a nurse, and it's been really great. But throughout my travels, what I've noticed is us nurses kind of have some of the same things that we go through, both good and bad. And a lot of the bad lately being that we kind of feel no power to make our own decisions and to kind of advocate for our patients. It seems like we get less and less and less of that opportunity as hospitals go to more protocol based things, saying, oh, if this happens, then do A, B, and C. But people are different and everyone is not going to fit under one little protocol. And sometimes you have to be
Well,
flexible and give the person who has some knowledge and some history behind them and some insight, as we're the ones with the patients all day, the opportunity to make suggestions and recommend, other things and changes that might be best for the patients and families.
So is that your main mission with your company, to provide that knowledge and insight that not everyone fits into one criteria?
So my main mission is more in support of the nurses. I wish I could make that type of change, but I feel like I'd have to be more hospital based to do that, like actually in a
For sure.
facility, which
For
right
sure.
now I don't have that. But in the future, if I have the opportunity, that would be amazing. And I would love for that to be the change or effect that I make. But right now, as my reach is just with the nurses, what I'm trying to do is kind of just help give them that support, celebrate them for all that they do, and let them know and feel that that knowledge and all that history and experience they come with is valuable, whether or not that's being able to be seen and taken advantage of and utilized. And I don't want the nurses, because we have a large nursing shortage right now. I want, in my own little way, to kind of try and see if I can put a little bit of a stop to that, and getting them to stop leaving the bedside, just by showing them some appreciation, giving them a place to vent, build them a community, and let them come to a place where they can network and just feel like they are at home and able to talk about and get good, critical, positive feedback on the things that they may be going through, so that maybe when they go back to work the next day, they feel a little bit more, okay, I can do this another day, versus, I'm fed up and I'm done and I'm leaving.
Yeah, and that's something that we had connected over. I'm not a nurse at all, but I have a lot of nursing friends. And I remember, learning about their introduction into nursing, and how kind of like this bullying culture that kind of happens, where they're like, fresh meat, and like everyone, from my understanding, like everyone kind of like hounds on them. Very, very hard, very critical, very harsh environment. And it's like, besides that, the nursing field, the medical field, is already so stressful to begin with. I would imagine, like, you don't want that as an added stressor when you're a newbie entering this field.
Absolutely. And I won't even say everyone, because I've been in some places where it has been amazing. Like, I've been welcomed from day one where I came in, and it's like, oh my God, family automatically. But coming
Yeah.
into the field as well, I had some of those experiences, but also had some of the opposite. And so what I
Okay.
see, and this is a very broad generalization, because I know it's not necessarily going to be true for everyone, but it's generally has been the older population of nurses who are more like closer to retirement, kind of 50s, 60s, that seem to be giving the younger population a hard time. And I don't know if it's just because there's such a gap in where the learning is, like the way that they have been taught to do things and have done things for years and years
Mm.
and years. And now there's these new ways, and the nurses are coming in like, oh, but I have this great new idea. And they're like, no, we know it all. This is how you do it,
Mm.
And it almost
Mm.
sometimes causes this conflict, versus where I feel like, well, this person coming in that's brand new, that has these great ideas, could be wonderful, and they could learn from you and all the things that you already know if you would just take them on. Well, honestly, you can also learn from them. The younger generation is
Yeah,
very techie. Not to say that anyone in their 50s, 60s, or any type of older generation cannot be, but
sure.
generally that's kind of the culture they're growing up in, and that can be
Yeah.
their advantage. You can learn from them as well. And that whole taking the nurses in and kind of like giving them a hard time for not knowing things and being brand new and making mistakes, to me, is just the craziest thing I've ever heard of. It's like, I've told nurses that are in that age bracket, or they have just treated people this way. They have not always been older. There's been younger nurses that have done it as well, so let me not just
Mhm.
put people in a box. But
Mhm.
anyone who has treated oncoming nurses that way or incoming nurses that way, I've said to them, like, you have to remember, one day you were new. Like, you also
Or
made these same mistakes. You had to ask questions as well. You needed a mentor. You needed someone to guide you. You're only this great now because you've gone through all these things that this person is just starting their journey going through. And I feel like sometimes people forget that.
mhm, mhm. So this is all about mindset mastery. So I am wondering, you know, when you first introduced yourself, that you worked in ICU for all those years, like, my initial thought was like, wow, that's stressful. It has to be stressful, right? Like, intensive care unit. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting to know you better as we're talking, and I'm like, well, Knicki must have been someone, correct me if I'm wrong, that was used to, whether life just handed it to her or she looked for opportunities like this, where you were put under high stress, and you probably handled it fairly well. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'll say that's accurate. You get thrown into some situations in life, and you got no choice. Like, it is what it is. This
Yeah.
is what you're going with, right? So if
Yeah.
we back out of my nursing career for just a little bit, and my
Yeah.
tiny bit of my life story, I
Yeah.
guess that started super young. There was someone on the show, Dr. Liz, not sure you know who that is, since she was always up there. um, that we talked about this just a little teeny tiny bit. And when I was super young, so when I was like around 9 years old, my father passed. And then when I was around 12, turning 13, my mother passed. So super young, I didn't have these parents, and I had a set of grandparents. Actually, my grandfather was
Mm.
great, but my grandmother, not so much. We didn't get along super well. I never thought she was the best person to my mom. Therefore, I didn't like her. You know, like you take sides. Like that's my
Sure.
mom. So don't like
Sure.
you if if you're doing her dirty. And I remember the morning after my mom passed, my grandma asking me like, okay, so where are you and your brother gonna go? Because like we've already raised our kids. And I'm 12, like,
Oh, wow.
like what do you expect me to say? Like, I don't have
Yeah.
an answer for that. And not only did she do that, she took us. So we had this rec center when we were younger that we always went to play at. It was called 12 School. And it's where I learned to like play pool, and we used to play football, and they had a pool. It was so much fun. We'd go like all year round after school and all summer. And I remember that morning after she asked that question, and I'm like, looking at my brother, who, if I'm 12 and he's like 10, and being like, she's like, all right, well, your aunt on this side said she'll take you, and then these people who I don't know, but are like extended family members, said they'll take you. So, you think about it. And she dropped us off at the rec center and went to play golf for the day. Like, your daughter didn't just die last night. But it's crazy. That's kind of like, that was how it started, right? Life. Like, a lot of hard things happen from that point on. And I feel like once you kind of get used to dealing with like trauma and drama and like surprise stressors that you're not necessarily prepared for, when you get somewhere, for me, like an ICU, that's almost a controlled chaos compared to some of the life I've lived. I can see this coming. I expect people to come in beat up and sick and not doing well. I expect family members to be unhappy. I expect to be the brunt of a lot of people's frustration and issues, even though I know I'm not the cause of it. I expect to be the one to be like, well, why wouldn't you do this? That's my daughter in the bed, as if I have such control to actually say yes to certain things, but it's expected. So I kind of am prepared for what my ICU is going to throw at me. There's not very often that I'm surprised. Life has surprised me enough for me to be like, oh, I can live in this just fine. At least I got a general idea what's going to happen. So I think because of a lot of that, I deal with being in the ICU fairly well, because as crazy as it sounds, it's kind of a better environment than some that I've been in up until, later in life.
Are you a high achieving leader, constantly striving for success, but feeling drained by the weight of responsibility? It's time to hit the reset button on your mind and unlock your full potential. Introducing the Entrepreneur's Mind Reset, a transformational journey designed for CEOs, Type A leaders, and ambitious professionals ready to prioritize their mental and spiritual well-being. Join our exclusive 6-month program where evidence-based therapy meets somatic work and metaphysical techniques. Here, you'll find a tribe of like-minded achievers driven by their passion for success and growth. With personalized one-to-one coaching, group sessions, and ongoing community support, you'll conquer burnout, master your energy, and cultivate a sense of inner peace and abundance. Say yes to yourself and embark on a journey of healing, growth, and success like never before. Visit our website or simply look at the show notes below and reserve your spot today. The Entrepreneur's Mind Reset, because true success starts from within.
I didn't want to be a nurse. Not that I didn't want to be a nurse, just didn't think about it. Originally, I wanted to cook. That's what I like to do. I like to cook. I like to eat. That's always been my thing. I went to Job Corps and I took like a basic culinary arts program for a year. I went to an advanced Job Corps where I took another, like an advanced culinary arts for a year. And that was the direction I was actually going to go in. But when I came back home, things just didn't work out. Certain paperwork and things you have to get in place in time that I wasn't able to get in place in time. And so life took a turn a little bit. And my mom, I had kind of been used to not caring for by any means. She could care for herself, but she was like on dialysis three times a week. She had really good relationships with nurses that were in her life, people she loved seeing when she went to go get dialysis. And she was also an aide as well in a center a long time ago. And so she kind of helped care for people I have aunts that my dad's sisters that are nurses, and I feel like that kind of culture has been around me a little bit. And I think in a sense, all of that somehow led me into the nursing program because it really was not on my mind. I don't remember how I came to the decision to want to do it actually, but helping people and supporting people and trying to be that positive outlook and just giving people some of that I didn't have, that person to fall back on, that person, you can call anytime, whether it's good or bad. It kind of made me feel like I think I'd be good at this. I'd like to do that. And I've loved what I've done.
Do you have what are your spiritual beliefs? Like, do you have trust in, like, a greater power, whatever that may be for you? And has that been a big guide, motivator in your life of how you're dealing with the ups and downs of life, entrepreneurship, motherhood, and business?
I don't. So when I was younger, we were very much like involved in the church, Christian. We were like that family that went 17 times a week. They had Monday night for kids and Wednesday nights for adults and Friday nights. Like and then we still went Sunday morning. Like that very much was my childhood up until my mother passed. And then a lot of it was just me. And I certainly was just trying to deal with life. So church was definitely not anywhere I was trying to make it. I was trying to make it to the next meal or whatever. And then I guess, when you're younger, you see things through a different viewpoint or, set of eyes than you do once you get older and you have experience and you start to understand certain things. But I think as a kid, a lot of that was like, dang, why would you do me like that? I've done nothing wrong. I've been a good kid. Like, and I kind of got that, I feel like, life lesson that you can only count on you, so you better make sure you're good type of thing. And that has run with me my whole life, both good and bad. There are people who've had relationships with me that would probably say it's bad because, you don't know how to rely on someone or ask a question or ask for help or take it because you're like, well, listen, if family and friends back then didn't make sure I was good, what are you going to do? You stranger. So I think there's a lot of that I've taken with me, but I will say it's gotten me far in life as well. So that's why I say it's a positive and it's a negative. A lot of that has made me work 3 times as hard as the person next to me because I have that feeling like if I don't, ain't nobody else going to make sure I'm good. So I better make sure I'm all right. And now that I have a kid, double, triple, got to make sure I'm all right and he's all right. So I think that is a lot of what guides me in my entrepreneur type journey is just making sure that everything's good. And if, Lord forbid, he's left in that situation that I'm in, that he's going to be set and covered and, cared for.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a big believer that, for me, business and life is a big mirror. I think that the way that you handle certain things in your life is going to transfer into your business. And so there are stressors in life and in business. And it's just like, well, how do you handle stress? Right? Like, it's a big mirror of like, who are you as a person and how do you navigate life when shit gets hard? Right. And so your mission of, helping nurses have more community in their field, in, can I say, like, especially as newcomers, but just in general, like making sure that the community is there. Hearing your life story, it's like, well, that's beautiful. And it kind of tracks in the sense of Knicki didn't have that. Knicki didn't have the support, correct me if I'm wrong, the support of knowing that she could rely on someone. And I say the same thing. I honor that, even though it's a catch 2020, it's a pro and a con of like, damn, so Knicki can't trust anybody, right? But also because of that, you've gotten so far in life because you were in hustle mode and you were so eagerly and hardworking that like you had to make sure that you did enough to make sure that you recovered because we don't know if we can rely on anyone else for that matter, right? So that your upbringing, life experiences, I mean, you're giving nurses what you never had.
I'm trying, girl. That's the goal. Because I feel like a good part of that as well when I was younger that I found out is like the people you think you can talk to or you think you can rely on or you think like at the end of the day if anything happens I call them up, I'm going to be good. That may not be the case. For some people it may be the case and that's beautiful. That's not always the case. And when I put myself in that same type of mindset in the workplace, I feel like it's the same. Like you feel like you can talk to your coworkers, you feel like you can talk to your manager, and that lady in HR is so nice and always asking about how I'm doing and whatnot. But how much can you really talk to them? If you really get truly upset and you really just want to express yourself about this place or these people, can you really do that no filter without having to feel like, okay, now I got to tiptoe back into work the next day? Not really. So I'm trying to give you
Yeah.
a place to where you can do that, because it's really hard. You can't go to your manager and be like, listen, I got a lot of things I want to say about you to you, and let's have this conversation. You can't really do
Yep.
that. It's just seen as
Yeah.
unprofessional. And then after, it makes for a very uncomfortable work environment. Then you have to worry about, are they going to retaliate against me? Now, do I get the worst assignments on the unit because I said something to her? Like, all of this you have to worry about. So therefore, you're walking on eggshells and you're holding all this in all day, every day, because you really can't express it. And that makes for, I feel like those nurses that when you come in the room that are snappy and they're frustrated and they're like, oh my, wait, oh my God, I was going to get the pillow. Like, it had nothing to do with the person asking for the pillow, but I'm sure what it has to do with is everything that's happening in the background while they're just trying to help and care. So I'm trying to give people a place to where you can say all that, no filter. I don't care about your manager or the
Right.
facility you work for or your coworkers. None of them matter to me. And if one of them end up in the room, I don't care, because they can also speak freely. You need that place where you're able to go and just let that out and vent, and then have a room full of people who are able to be like, you know what I did when I was in that situation that really worked for me? Because it may not even come from me. I may not be the person to be able to give you the best advice, but there's going to be a room full of people here, and I bet you someone in here can relate to you, and they can tell you how they got out of a situation like that. Or if you're in a place where you're no longer doing well, I say to nurses all the time, if you're truly unhappy in what you're doing, whatever type of nursing that is, it's probably time for a change. Maybe not to not be a nurse, stay a nurse, but maybe you don't belong in ICU anymore. Maybe it's time for you to be like in a doctor's office, or maybe it's time for you to be in an infusion center. Maybe it's time for you to be doing something where you're going to people's homes. Like, it might be just time for a change, because being miserable all day, every day, and fed up and angry and frustrated is not doing you any good emotionally, physically, spiritually. It's not doing any good for the patients. It's not doing any good for the unit and the morale of the unit. Like, it's going to do no good for anybody. But sometimes it's really
Mm,
hard to figure out how and where do you make that change if this is what you've been doing for 40 years. Go where I'm
sure.
going. But when you're in a room full of people, I promise you, this is the best networking opportunity sometimes that people will be able to have, because there's probably someone in this room that's like, guess what? My manager just left and we really are looking for a new, and maybe that's where you need to be. So I'm just hoping that what I create is not only a place where you can come and let your hair loose, have fun. We're going to laugh. We're going to joke. I'm always joking. I really do feel like laughter is the best medicine. So I think we should have jokes, and levity is great, but also get to know this room, because you never know who in here is going to be that person that helps change your life or touch your life in some way.
I love this. So how does it work? Like, what does the community look like? Is it like a Facebook group? Is it coaching? Like, how does this happen?
So this community looks like it's being built. So it looks like a foundation right now. Um, so as people continue to sign up to come to my first event, it'll be next weekend. So as they're continuing to sign up to come to the event, I'm creating a Facebook group. So anyone who ever attends anything of mine will be automatically put into this group, and you will forever have access to this group from then on, once you've attended anything that I've thrown. And
Okay.
that's going to be a place where we are able to continue the community that we start to build in person, on top of me hosting these events, which at some point I hope I can make them like a monthly type of thing, to where you always
Okay.
know, like, next month I'm going to whatever she's throwing. We're going to have a good time. But there's the situation I'm hoping I can talk about as well. Like, you're going to get all of that opportunity. And then if you want access to me as well, outside of the events or outside of the Facebook group, I also always offer one-on-one mentoring. So it's still available, and people know they can reach out. They can book me on my site. There's still more to be had in between events, in between person to person. But again, I may not be that person you can connect with. And I've never been selfish enough to feel like it's got to be me. If you want something, you got to talk to me. No, you don't. It might be somebody else in this room that's better equipped to give you the advice that you're looking for. So within that group on Facebook or within the in-person events, hopefully you find those connections that you need.
Okay. And where are you located? Where are these events happening?
So I'm in Buffalo, so it's in and around Buffalo for now. It'll be nice if at some point I can get to branching around, because I would love for this to be something that can be more worldwide. I'd love to be able to every month be in a new city or a new town or do something like that. But for now, I'll start in Buffalo and see what I can do here, and just see how we can grow this network, because I feel like nurses everywhere can relate. You don't have to be from this area in order to join in or have the same need.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think that maybe you've already done it, but do you think you'll do virtual events too?
I haven't thought about it. I don't even know what that would look like. It's an interesting idea. I'll have to think on it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just think that what you're doing is fantastic, and there's obviously such a need for it. And I mean, you're building community, you know? So yeah, okay. So what maybe advice would you offer to nurses? And honestly, what I'm hearing from you, like I initially thought like it was more for new nurses, but I feel like any nurse would benefit from this community. Like you, I'm sure, you know, in different fields, there's so many different things that you can do in nursing that you would just go through adversities no matter what year you're in. So you know, what advice would you give to nurses that, you know, may be experiencing judgment or bullying in the workplace? Yeah, what would be your advice for them?
So my advice would be to speak up. I already dealt with this. Coming straight into the nursing field, I had this issue. I wasn't necessarily bullied by the preceptor I had received or that was assigned to me, but certainly wasn't made to feel welcome by her. I wasn't very comfortable with her. We did not mesh well personality wise. And after probably a good month of trying to see if maybe this is something that I could work out and seeing that it was not, that's the point in time where you have to speak up for yourself, however long that time looks like for you. And it was time for me to have a conversation with her, which I feel like that's always the first thing you should do. I think it's frustrating when you have an interaction with somebody and someone leaves that interaction unhappy, and instead of talking to the person they're unhappy with, they go to like the boss or the manager or this person or that person, because maybe it was just a misread. That person's like surprised by the fact that there was an issue, especially if there was nothing intentional. I feel like your one-to-one is always the best way to attempt to solve a problem. And then if that doesn't happen, then you have to move up the chain, which I did. I tried a conversation with her, didn't go very well. So next it was time to talk to the manager because this relationship was not working. It didn't feel like an environment that was made for me to learn. And that's what I'm here for. I've been a nurse for 4 weeks. I have to learn and I have to feel like I can ask a question. I have to feel like I can make a mistake. I have to feel like I can walk up to my preceptor and say something they may deem stupid, but not make me feel stupid. And I didn't have that. So I went to my manager and I was assigned a new preceptor and things have been all great since then. So my advice is, first of all, you have to speak up. Again, back to how I feel. I don't feel like anyone's going to defend you but you. Now, there are people where that's not true. Friends will step in and be like, my friend, don't talk to her. You're making her feel something. You know what I mean? There are people that have that. But at the end of the day, what if they not working that day? Like, you got to speak up for yourself. So I think that my advice is to speak up for one. Try your best to conflict manage yourself with that person, because that tends to be the best solution you can ever get, is when you guys can just talk to each other and come to agreement and move on. That tends to work better than the manager having to tell that person to act a certain way or treat you a certain way, because now you've created another barrier to your relationship. So my advice is always try to conflict manage with whoever it is you're having an issue with in a non-confrontational way. Me, I do it by jokes. That's just always been my thing. I joke a lot. Like, I remember saying to her, like, dang, what happened? Like, you don't like me? Like, what is it? You know what I mean? Like, making jokes out of it, but you got to find your way of approaching a situation. It's not going to put the other person completely on a defense immediately, or you're not going to get anywhere in the conversation. And then if that doesn't work, go up the food chain. Like they tell you at probably every job and every orientation you've ever been to. If it doesn't work with that person, you do have to talk to the manager. And if you don't have the best or supportive manager, it might be time for you to make a change, because at the end of the day, this is your job. This is your life. This is your emotional, physical, mental wellness. And it's your household and paycheck and whatever at the end of the day. And if this is not going to be a place that is a good fit for you, sometimes you just make the change, because you're not always going to be able to change the people around you.
Love that. I think that's really, really good insight. I'm thinking about the nurses that maybe are in a tough spot right now, and they're like maybe doubting of like, shit, is nursing for me? Like, is this really the field that I want to be in right now? Can you talk more into like the beautiful pros and benefits of being a nurse?
Oh my God, yes. So though nursing right now is, kind of put in this negative light because everyone's so upset and they're so frustrated and so unhappy. And I think the last statistic I saw was like 130,000 nurses left the bedside between like 2019 and 2021 or something. Like, it was some huge number, right? I want to say it was the last statistic I said. So there's like a lot of negativity right now being seen around nurses. You're constantly seeing them on strike and like, fighting for better pay or just better patient to nurse ratio, like a lot of negativity. But the things that I do, I wouldn't change. There's a reason I'm still here 13 years later, minus all this negativity. It's a beautiful thing to be able to see someone come into you and, they can't move at all. I had a patient, my very first year of nursing, I had this patient who had gotten into an accident, couldn't do or move anything. He was a young guy. He was so sweet, like in his 20s, if I remember, like 23 or something. Had a brand new daughter. So I think she was like 2 years old. And whatever had happened to him, he was now paralyzed from the neck down. All he could do was move his head. That's all he had left. He couldn't even like use a call bell to call us. I remember us trying to figure out ways to get so that he can let us know if something was wrong. And we found like this little, I don't know how we found it, but we came up with things like a straw, basically. And if he needed something, he would just blow into the straw and it would turn on his call light so he can tell us that he needed something. But we worked with him because neuro ICU is where I worked, by the way. I should probably say that. So my background was a lot of dealing with strokes and motor vehicle accidents and spinal traumas and things like that. People having communication issues and, you know, a lot of things that go along with strokes and those type of issues. But so this guy, he was there for months. I want to say he was there for like 7 months on our unit. And it took till like month 5 before he'd even let like his daughter come and see him. And by this time, he was able to start moving a little bit of his upper like extremities. I can't remember exactly what he had because I said he was paralyzed, but that's not true, or he would not have been able to move. But I can't remember what he ended up having. But I know it took a lot of physical therapy. It took a lot of surgeries. It took a lot to get this guy to the point to where the daughter came in, he was able to hug her, and he cried, and the whole unit cried. But to see him, you know, have that moment with her was like everything, because he couldn't do that when he came in 5 months ago. And he was just like the most thankful, sweet guy ever. And he came back and saw us. I want to say like almost a year down the road, he came back. He was in a wheelchair, but he was willing it himself. You know, daughter was on his lap, and just to see people go home, even if it's not necessarily the you came in as, we love when it is. To see you go home, to see you be healthy, to see you be happy, to see you back with your family, to see you move on in your life and, you know, be successful is everything. Like, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And yeah, I mean, I would imagine that's why people go into nursing, right? Just to help people in some capacity and have that beautiful gift of being on the receiving end of seeing transformations like that.
Absolutely. At least I certainly hope so.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All right, girly. So much like packed info. What's something that maybe right now you're dealing with, adversity wise, and it could be anywhere. It could be in business, in life, in motherhood. Um, Something that you are working out right now that maybe is a little difficult for you to maneuver at this time.
So right now, I think I'm trying to strike a balance between a good work-life balance, and being in support of my child, right? I have lived the life, and so has he, because he's my son, so he's had to be wherever I am, to where
Yeah.
in my childhood, I did lots of moving around. And then as an adult, also lots of moving around, because I travel nursed for many years, which means my son also did lots of moving around all the time. So he was always, you know, the new kid, and we were always in a new place, and he was always meeting new people. And when he's younger, you know, that's super fun. You know, you enjoy that, because every city has some new things to introduce to you. It's a new place to go you've never seen before. You know, you get new restaurants, you meet new friends. But then as he gets older, I'm like, okay, this is a point in time where I want to stop moving him around, because I want him to have what I didn't end up having, which is that base. I want him to have that, oh, I've known him since I was 10 relationships. I want him to have those friendships. So, and I want to be able to support the things that he wants to do with those friends and the things that he wants to participate in. So, for instance, you know, he wanted to run track. You know, I want to be able to say, yes, you can run track. Where for the longest, I was like, oh, I don't know if you can play that. What day is it? I got to work night shift, and that's how many days a week? I don't think I can't make it to pick you up every day, like guaranteed, because our schedules in the hospital are so sporadic. You know, there's nothing consistent about it, except that you're working 3 days every week. But what 3 days? Who's to know? So I'm at that point in life where I just want to be able to tell him yes to those most basic things that I feel like other people almost take for granted. And I don't mean that to be insulting to anyone, because it's a beautiful thing to have that. And I feel like everyone should have that. It just doesn't come with my particular job that I've chosen in the hospital. So if I'm working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and you're always getting out every day at 6:30, or I'm sorry, at 7 o'clock, like I can't come get you. So I can't say, yeah, you can play that sport, but I want to. So right now, the changes I'm making are taking a job I don't necessarily want, let's say pay-wise, But because it comes with a consistent schedule and I can give him that, yes, yep, you can run track. I'll be off by 3 o'clock every day. I can pick you up. I can carpool and help take the friends home. Yep, you can do it. No worries. And now having to give up some of my weekend because I have to make up for that income I don't have in order to have that steady week to support him. So that's my current struggle. In fact, that new job, that weekend job, I will start after my first event the following day. But it's a sacrifice you make as a mother when you want to support, your child, or at least in this certain situation, because I know a lot of people are 9 to 5s and they don't necessarily have to go through that, which is gorgeous. I wish we had such a thing. I wish we had 8-hour shifts in the hospital, but we don't.
Yeah.
So that's my current struggle, but I have found that's the way I have to deal with it, because just working during the week, this job 7 to 3:30 has not been enough to manage. So I'm struggling. So now I have to pick up this weekend job and give up some of these weekends in order to give him the more normal type of kid life.
Yeah, that's tough. And I mean, it sounds like you're doing all the right things. I wonder, like, long term, do you see yourself staying in the field of nursing? I see that you're so passionate about what you're doing with your business, and like, could that be your bread and butter? Is that the goal for this support group, coaching, whatever that transfers into in the long run, to bring in enough revenue where, like, that could, at least it could be your bread and butter for, like, you could do your 7 to 3 and this be enough, and you don't have to do that weekend job.
Yeah, so to be perfectly honest, I never want to leave nursing until retirement. Like, I do love what I do, but I would like for what I'm starting to do, hopefully to at some point be able to transition or translate to being my bread and butter and the job that pays the bills, because it's always beautiful when our job can be our passion. And I am very
Yeah.
passionate about it. However, I would never leave. And it's great because in nursing, we have this per diem. I know some places
I was
don't
thinking
necessarily
about
do
that
per
too.
diem, but we
Yes.
do, and I'd love if, twice a month I'm in the ICU working until I'm 65. Would love that. I never actually want to be completely detached from the field. I do love what I do. I like working with the patients. I like working with the families. It's a learning environment every single time. There's always something new and someone new and a new piece of technology and equipment. And I love that. So I don't actually want to leave, especially because how much help will I be down the line to the people that I'm trying to help if I haven't worked as a nurse in 20 years? I'm honestly not going to relate. I won't really understand what you're going through. And then that doesn't make me the best resource for you anyway. And I don't want to lose that, both personally, because I love doing what I do, but then professionally, if this is my business, that's not going to translate well.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. I thought about the per diem thing because, from the friends that I have that are in nursing, like, they have the best schedule, I think. Like, they get to, they have you work like 3 days, yes, or 12-hour shifts, but then, like, you're kind of good for the week, right? So that does allow for a lot of flexibility. But I guess I'm hearing from I'm sure every job is different, but maybe the days aren't always consistent. So dealing with, and how old is your son, if you don't mind me asking?
He's 14 now.
Okay, yeah, so he's busy. He's trying to do things after school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and so you just want to have more stability in your schedule to better support his after school activities.
Right.
Yeah.
And not even just that. I think the importance of having that time, that family bonding, being with your parents is important. I also think it's important for you to be with your friends too. So I do be able to try and push them out the house. Hey, just go hang out with somebody. Don't just be up in this house. But at the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
time, I, as an adult, obviously because what I've gone through, I look back in the time I had with my mom, my dad too, but I was younger when he passed. So more my mom, value that. I look back at when we used to hang out and play games, when we used to watch certain TV shows, when we used to, and I'm like, so appreciative that she spent that time with me and I have those memories, because you don't know when opportunity to create those are going to be gone. I've learned. So I feel like it's super important for me also to be around and available for him. Like, yeah, you're going to hang out with your friends or whatever, but we'll still do dinner. At dinner, we always pick a show that we'll watch together. We got jokes or something from whatever show we're watching, or we very much like to play Scrabble. So we'll start a Scrabble game. We play it for the next 2 weeks, like 30 minutes during dinner time for the next couple of weeks until we finish. But I think it's super important. And if I am at work all the time, I'm unavailable for you to spend that time with, for you to make that bond with, and for you to know you have mom to rely on. You know, at the end of the day, no matter what, at dinner time, if nothing else, you can sit down and talk to mom about your day and what you're going through and ask me questions and just express your little self and what's going on in your life and what's stressing you out and what are you thinking about. Like, it's important to know that I'm there as that sounding board for you daily. You know, maybe at
Yeah.
some random time of day, but you know every day that I'm available versus if I keep with that inconsistent schedule, 12 hours is a long time. And when you do it on day shift, usually you don't see your kid that day. If I'm working Monday, 7 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., and then we have to give report, and then we have to get to our car, which is usually super far away, we got to drive home. Kids are usually in bed. And then I'm up and
Mhm.
out before you get up for school. So not seeing your kid 3 days a week, that's a lot, which is why I did night shift for a long time. At least I saw you in the afternoon every day, no matter what, even if it was for a couple minutes. But that's tough. And that's tough for kids too to not know when they're going to see you. Mom works Monday, Tuesday, Friday this week, then Sunday, Thursday, Saturday, then Wednesday. It's so inconsistent and chaotic. That's tough
Yeah.
for them. And I'm trying to make it not so.
Yeah. Well, what I'm hearing, and like, thank you for you just sharing so much, and I love that about you. And like, I feel this strong energy behind you, and I know we've been through it. Like, who hasn't? We've been through a lot. You're sharing your story, and you're learning through all of it, and how you can be a better person in this lifetime from all that you've learned and experienced in your past. So I commend you for that, and yeah, I can imagine how hard that must be for you as a mother and for your son to not always see you, and then you sacrificing and working nights just to have that little slither of time, which, I'm sure your son is a little bit older now, and I hope that he appreciates all the efforts that you're doing and just being more present. So what I'm gathering is that, like, nervous system, I'm big on healing. My background's in therapy. I'm now a mindset coach. What it sounds like that you're asking for is a calm nervous system. And to have a calm nervous system, you need stability and you need consistency, right? And so that would be really fruitful, not only for you, but also for your son. And I'm really big on like energetics and the law of manifestations, law of attractions. And so, what are you calling out, Nikki? Like, what would be your dream life that, could come around next month? Things happen quickly when you have a lot of potent energy into it. That what would that look like for you and your son via your work hours and how you live your life?
What would my dream life look like right now? Well, for one, to be honest, my dream life is probably more of people's basic life. That would just be newer for me and him. So my dream life is to be able, I mean, at least while he's during the ages when he's still living at home, for to be able to see my son every morning. We have breakfast together, like we've been doing since I've made this change. Have what I want to do during the day pretty much done by the time the evenings come around. I like to be home consistently for dinner. I'd like to have those times on weekends where we could spend time together because I don't have to be working, even if it's just we're going to catch a movie, then you're spending the rest of the day with your friends. We're going to see family, and then maybe you're going to go hang out with friends. I want my dream life just look more consistent and present and surrounded by love and expectation. Like, you can expect to see me and have access to me. I want that
Mm.
to be a consistent thread throughout the rest of my life, if possible. And then to work in the business, because my son is such a sweetheart. He's my biggest cheerleader and supporter. He's such a little, like, he's such a little honey, and I love that about him. And he
Aw.
loves what I do. And anytime it's time I'm starting something new, like, he wants to be involved. Like, when I throw this event, he's like, "Can I check people in at the door?" And I'm like, "Yes, that's your
Aw.
job, baby. You check them in and give them some name tags for me." And he's like, "Yes," like, he's so excited by it. And I love that. And I want to continue to grow that bond because at some day, hopefully he'll be blessed and want to have kids and whatnot, and I'll be able to give him that support that I cannot give him now. Like, I don't have grandparents to give him right now, but I can't wait to
Mm.
give him that blessing per me when it's his
Yeah.
time to have kids. And be that reliable person that's gonna, be able to include them and give them all the love and whatnot that they deserve, while still building this business and, hopefully traveling with it and taking him to see the world as well.
That's beautiful. Okay, so we're hearing that we have a beautiful hourly, not hourly, but your hours are great right now. You're able to have breakfast and tune in at night with him. And so maybe in the future that would maybe look like per diem if and when the business takes off and you need more energy to do that. Right? Yes.
Right.
Right. And yeah, you would still have the insights of still being a nurse. And you just from your energy, I know that you just love to continuously learn, and being a nurse seems like it's being on your feet and just always learning new things. And so that part of self that craves that newness would be amplified, even at a per diem, consistent rate, I guess I would say. And then your business would flourish, right? And your son would be a part of it, and you have more autonomy over your schedule. And that sounds like a really, really nice life.
It sounds nice to me too, girl. That's what I'm shooting for.
Well, that's what we're manifesting.
It
This is why I
takes
wanted
work
to get
though, so we all have
clear.
to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, well, that's why, something that's really helped me with manifesting has been planting the seeds with potent emotion. Like you're a go-getter, it seems, in conversating with you. And so like, I don't doubt at all that you're going to get all that you want and ask for. Something that's really helped me just kind of, I don't want to say get there faster, because every timeline is divine, and, you don't have to put your hand in that. But, it's the potency and how you feel emotionally when you're thinking about set goals, right? It's like, this is bigger than me. Like, people go into business, nursing, whatever, for different reasons. And it's like, oh, maybe I'll go into nursing because I know I'll always have a job, or because it's good money, or whatever, And the same thing for business. Like, oh, I want to, have autonomy over my schedule, or I want to be the boss, or whatever the reason that you're going into it for, like whatever. But what we're seeing here is that for you and your story, Knicki, it's like you're doing this to fulfill different aspects of yourself. Well, I wrote it down when you were talking. I said that your like focal point is you can count on me. That's what I kept hearing. It's something that you lacked in your early childhood, right? And it's something that you're gifting to others because of it. You can count on me. And I feel like for me, business has been such a beautiful, or entrepreneurship has been such a beautiful lesson for me, of like, this is a soulful business for me where I get to count on my business for safety, for revenue, for impact, for education, like all the different multifaceted parts of self that we all have, especially as type A leaders and CEOs. Like, we're just like hungry for like doing the most, and I love that. It'll never leave me, and my business gets to fuel that in all aspects: education, income, time freedom, dream life, manifestation. Like, it gets to connections with my clients, help, same thing as like nursing, helping them see their transformations, and being so honored to be witness and a part of that journey.
Are you a high achieving leader, constantly striving for success, but feeling drained by the weight of responsibility? It's time to hit the reset button on your mind and unlock your full potential. Introducing the Entrepreneur's Mind Reset, a transformational journey designed for CEOs, type A leaders, and ambitious professionals ready to prioritize their mental and spiritual well-being. Join our exclusive 6-month program where evidence-based therapy meets somatic work and metaphysical techniques. Here, you'll find a tribe of like-minded achievers driven by their passion for success and growth. With personalized one-to-one coaching, group sessions, and ongoing community support, you'll conquer burnout, master your energy, and cultivate a sense of inner peace and abundance. Say yes to yourself and embark on a journey of healing, growth, and success like never before. Visit our website or simply look at the show notes below and reserve your spot today. The Entrepreneur's Mind Reset, because true success starts from within.
Like, my
Yes.
business does it all for me, allows me to spend time with my children. I have a 2 and a 1-year old, you
Aww.
know Yeah, I'm in the early stages of motherhood. Like, I'm in the thick of it, like, so it allows me time freedom to be a stay-at-home mom and still run a 6-figure business like that. It's a blessing,
That's
and I
beautiful.
think it really is. Thank you. And I think that when we put those seeds of intention as to, before my business sprouted, I was pregnant with my firstborn son, and I had just left my 9 to 5, and I was like, really? Was this the prime time to do this? And there was something bigger than me, this emotion driven force of life is going to be so grand if you just follow this intuition, this hit, this nudge of, I used to write every single day in my journal, like, I can't wait until I'm, owning a business and I'm working part-time, making full-time income, and I'm able to be a stay-at-home mom and still fuel my parts of me that I I always knew I wanted to work and be a mom. Right. And that's just for me personally. But I used to write about it every single day of like how fruitful and how much of a blessing it would be. And I would get into the mindset so much that 4 years ago, during the time of COVID, I would literally like imagine it and be like, wow, like we're so blessed. And then to see it in fruition today, it's like that for me is a power of manifesting. And that's why I asked you those questions at the end of like, well, what does that look like? Getting really clear on the intention, emotionality, and the visionary piece of being a CEO of like, well, really, what does that look like for you? And then just calling it in. So I'm excited for you, girly. Thank you for just being so open and vulnerable. And your mission is fantastic. And I think you're already doing great things. It's just a matter of time for more people to see and hear your impact.
I love that. I hope so. Your story is beautiful, by the way. I love that you're able to give your kids that time. I love that you made that your goal. It was important enough for you to work towards that, because I feel like a lot of people say that, but they don't realize in order to get that, it takes work. You got to put in the effort to be able to, it
Yep.
doesn't fall in your lap, So the fact that you made that a goal and you went after it and you are successful in that and able to do exactly what you envisioned is such a beautiful thing and such a blessing for your children. So I'm so happy that that gets to be your everyday life. And I'm looking forward to making mine look something like it.
Yeah. Your version of happiness. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much, girly. So all of your links will be in the show notes, but what is the easiest way for people to contact you if they're a nurse and they just want to have support or learn more about what you do? What is the best approach to reach you?
The easiest is always to just go on my website. It is uniquelynursing.com. That's the name of the business. That's the name of the website. I'm really easy to find. And then on there are so many different opportunities to reach out, connect, or learn about me if you want to. I've started a blog on there. So if you're just interested to hear about my crazy life, it will be there. But you can also book a mentoring session with me. And then there's just a contact me. Do you just have a question? You just want to reach out? There's a contact form. And if you're interested in the events I'm throwing or the things I'm doing, there's a sign up list. You can always sign up to be emailed for the next thing that I have coming out. Just uniquelynursing.com. You can find me very easily.
Beautiful. Thank you, Knicki. Well, this was a very potent conversation. I know that our listeners gained so much from this, and I thank you for taking time out of your day and out of your busy life to just share your gems with us.
Listen, I appreciate you so much for even inviting me on the show. I wish when we met, I would have got more time to really meet you. So this has been so nice to actually really get to talk to you. We didn't get one pod together, but it's okay.
We did not. Yeah, but so for those that don't know, Knicki and I met on the Blocks Entrepreneurial Competitive TV show, and yes, we never had the chance to be in a room together per se, but I saw your energy from afar and I was like, I like this girl. I want to have her on my show. I know she's full of gems. It's an energy thing. So yeah.
So thank you, girl. It's so nice to actually meet you and get to talk to you. I look forward to going through your podcast and looking at some of the past people you had on. I'm excited to look into all that you've been doing, and I just hope you just continued success.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, girly. Well, until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for tuning into Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive future episodes packed with valuable insights. Remember to follow us on social media at thehealthy.highperformer for more inspiration, tips, and updates. If you found this episode helpful, we'd appreciate it if you could share it with your network and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us as we continue to empower high performers like you. Until next time, keep mastering your mindset and thriving as a healthy high performer.